Hello everyone, Argsy here. Welcome along to Aussie Farms. Now this is a soon-to-be released map for PC only by Hocks 23. Now, if you're familiar with Hocks' work, he was responsible for Southern Cross Station, where we spent quite a lot of time playing on that in our live streams and really enjoyed the map. And Aussie Farms has the makings to be just as successful as that map has been, and I'm really looking forward to getting in here and taking a look around. Now, as I said, it is PC only. There's no plans at this stage for a console release, but plans can change. But as for now, console players, I'm sorry to say it is for PC only. Now, Hocks has said that the map is loosely based in and around the Liverpool Plains in New South Wales. Now, they're located about 4 hours northwest of Sydney, inland from Newcastle. So they're a big open plain area. One of the predominant features that you'll see there is some irrigation ditches and ponds and things like that, which you'll see Hocks has got included in the map. They are decorative only. There's no feature in the game at the moment where irrigation can be used for anything around the water at least. We've obviously seen pivots which use fertilizer and things like that, but the irrigation in this map is decorative only. Now, a couple of the features that Hocks has identified, there are some custom crops in here which we'll take a look at in just a little bit. It does have a custom growth calendar based on the growing seasons that you'd experience in this kind of area, so it'd be good to have a look at that as well. Now we'll jump into the PDA in just a quick little minute and have a look around. I will keep the mini-map in the bottom left corner at all times, so as we're travelling around you can kind of get a grasp of where we are and what features we're looking at. I'll also leave it orientated so it is facing to the north or upwards on the screen. So let's dive into the PDA, have a look at the farmlands, have a look at the general lay of the map, and then we'll go and have a look around. So taking a look here at the PDA for Aussie Farms, and there's a few things that stick out. Up in the top left hand corner here we've got a little bit of a town area with a number of different production points. Not everyone that's available, but there is a few of those up there. We've also got some sell points. You can see as we just click through those what they all are. The animal buy point is also up here. It's the animal dealer. You can head in and buy your animals, and we'll take a look at what animals are included in the map in just a second. Moving across here, there's another sort of area which makes the use of BC Bueller's cooperative buildings. We've got the fertilizer shed, chemical shed, and the seed shed, all from that pack. So that is a required mod if you want to have those. There's also a couple more sell points, Osgrain and a cotton sell point as well. Now the map also features another town down here, down the bottom. This is the main vehicle shop. There's a fuel station as well as 3 or 4 different sell points. So there's quite a few sell points for all your different crops, which is good on a 2x map. It does give you lots of different options. Now looking at the pre-built farms on the map, there is 3. So the main farm that you do start off if you use new farm mode, which we are on, that is located in here, and we'll go and take a look at the equipment that's currently set up on there and what the options are in just a minute. There's a second farm over here which I would describe as an arable farm. It does have a couple of silos, a couple of flat bottom bins there. And then down the bottom here is a third farm, which you can see has a sheep pasture and a cow pasture, along with a couple of water tanks, a bulk herbicide bin, and a fuel point in amongst some sheds. So really 3 main farms, and obviously a little bit of a different focus on each of them. Now we mentioned the irrigation ditches and the irrigation pond. This here is quite a large irrigation pond, and you can see these ditches which run around. There's some valves, and that is decoration that should link them all together. And if it was able to be irrigated, these would be opened up and as needed and flood the fields, put some water in on the fields. Compare that to the other side over here, which is not irrigated. There's no ditches, and the fields are a little bit more irregular. There's a lot more trees over here on this side. So moving along and having a look at some of the farmland prices and what you do start off with on new farmer mode. So you can see at the moment it is quite well set up, but whether this stays the same, again, being PC, it doesn't really matter anyhow because you can set things up and configure them the way you want a little bit easier. But you do start off here with the main yard, 3 fields there either side, and you do actually own the other 2 farmyards as well. This is the arable one and the animals down here down the bottom. Now I said before there is a couple of cheap plots up here, $3,600 and $3,700, where you could buy those and put some production points down. They are only very small. Now in terms of our field sizes, our smallest field is field number 4, which is in here. This is one of the ones you own, 10.2 acres, $53,000. The farmland at the moment is very reasonably priced. There's a field 15 up here, which is 12 acres. And then moving on to our largest field, field 25, which actually encompasses a couple of plots or a couple of different fields there. and that is $302,000 and contains 57.5 acres of land. So some good sized fields actually. I think when you look around it, you'll see that they're all very similar in size: 36, 38, 44, 47 acres. So you're sort of around that 30 to 50 acre mark for a lot of them. Having a look over this side, 34, 25, 21. So some good variety and very affordable. So I can see you could progress into owning a large tract of the farmyard or a large area of the map in quite a quick time. There is the one field here, 26, which is a grass field as well at the moment. So while we are here looking at the map again, we'll just take a look at the crop types. Obviously all of the default crop types are there. If we just tab across, you can see we've also got alfalfa, chickpeas and lentils as options there. So a few extra crops, which is nice to see. It's always good to have something new to farm, something with a little bit of variety. So I'm looking forward to trying out some of those. You can see the chickpeas, quite a few of those around about already. No lentils planted in the map at the moment, but that is obviously easy enough to do. We do have a field of alfalfa there at 18, but obviously things will vary depending on how the game decides to start things off for you. And as I also said earlier, there's a custom crop calendar in here, so you can see a lot of your cereal crops, wheat, barley, canola and oats are all planted in autumn. Obviously the seasons are set up for Southern Hemisphere, so you can see our spring is October, November, or September, October, November for spring, December, January, February, summer, March, April, May for autumn, and of course June, July, August is our winter. So you can see you plant those cereal crops are in winter, they're harvestable late spring, early summer, whereas everything else is pretty much plantable through the spring season to harvest in autumn. And then down the bottom, the chickpeas and lentils actually match up with those cereal crops that we saw at the top. Alfalfa are a little bit more similar to grass, as you'd expect. So nice to have those options, and could provide some variety in how you might farm. Not sure, I haven't studied it enough to see if there's opportunities for double cropping, but there does seem to be some overlaps when you look through here between harvest and planting, and on the other end harvest and planting. So you might be able to get 2 crops off every season, which is always a bonus. So just before we go and take a look around the map, just a couple of other things that I wanted to point out. The trees you see in front of us, these are an old model from FS13 is a best guess, but they're very in character with the map, with the region. They're a very Australian tree. So Hocks has chosen to keep these in. The downside to it is that they don't have collisions and they don't have a rigid body and aren't able to be cut down. So you are stuck with the trees as and where they are, unless you're prepared to go into Giant's Editor and remove them. But I think it's a good decision. They really are very a typical Australian tree and really suit the map. So it's just something to live with. It might make it a little bit hard if you wanted to try and merge some fields where they had a row of trees down the middle. So it's just something to bear in mind. Some of the other features, it does have multi-terrain angle in the fields. The mud mod has been included, so if you have that turned on, you'd experience some mud in and around the area. Not a huge amount, but just enough to make it fun. And there is AI traffic, which was a very requested feature on Southern Cross Station, which didn't have AI traffic, so Hocks has gone to the effort and made sure he has put it in that, because it's something people seem to want. But anyhow, that is enough talking. You're here to have a look at the map, you're here to see what it all looks like. So we're going to go for a look around here at the starter farm. We'll jump into a truck and go for a drive around the map, check out the other farms, the sell points, the towns, and just give you a general overall impression of the map. So we might as well start here looking at the silos. These are the 3 bins that you do get with the starter farm. They're only able to be used with silos, with augers. So we've got the Meridian auger there on this side to unload from, and the conveyor on the other side to fill up with. So that is one of the things, and you'll see that on all 3 of the farms where there's bins, that you don't have any drive over pits or anything like that. Obviously there's plenty out there with the AGI pack and things like that if you did want to add something like that in. It's a lime silo, so there's a buy point there, and I have got all the triggers turned on so we can see what things are, but that is a lime silo for purchasing lime. Now we head on back over this way into the main part of the farm. We've got the trailer for the house, so slip trigger there on the doorstep. Lots of open sheds, very typical Australian. Gives me a very West Australian vibe with these big sheds that are drive-through, open, accessible, and we've got equipment scattered all over the place. Field cultivator, mulcher, and a disc cultivator or disc harrow there, and we'll just carry on our way around and have a little bit more of a look through the sheds and just pick up some of the starting equipment that Hocks has put in here. Cavernland planter, Lemkin seeder, Hardy sprayer, Bergman grain bin, and the New Holland combine there with the grain header. Looks like about a 30-foot maybe, somewhere around there. We do have a bulk herbicide bin over there, or herbicide tank, so you can use that. You can fill that up and use that for your spraying. And then if we come back down this way, we've just got a few more sheds we can have a look at. All your tractors, or most of your tractors over here. Water trigger, I think. Then we've got a 8RT, the 310. Got the Breedle fertilizer and lime spread around that side. 7R, it's 290 Gen 2 with the Hardy front mount tank there. And then we've got the trailer on the Mac, so a grain trailer there for running your crops around. And if we just pop over this side, we'll take a look at the pickup in just a second. We've got another shed here, door in the middle, and it's got a few more pieces of equipment in it. A couple of tractors, so we've got the case there with the front loader, and the Massey Ferguson S7720, again with another one of the Hardy mega tanks on the front. So, decent amount of equipment, good options for starting out with. I'm not sure if there's anything else in the end of the shed, or whether it just disappears. I think there's another door to this one. In fact, can we peek through the cracks? There's a bit of a workshop in there. Ah, there we go. Door opens both ways. So we are able to get in here to the workshop trigger. So pop in here. And we've got your trigger for your vehicle workshop. Probably a little bit hard to pick up the doors. I had one comment around that. But there we go. You can slide that both ways. Get things opened. So we'll jump into the Hilux here. Now this was only actually released today on the Aussie Farms Sim Facebook page. It is only a beta release, still got a bit of work to do, particularly around the interior, but it is a nice looking model. So looking forward to having a drive around in this, see how it goes, and we'll go and check out some of the rest of the map. So I think we'll head in a clockwise direction, we'll leave the farm, head up past the irrigation ponds, head in through town, go up around the back, look at the co-op areas up there, and we'll try and come down this way through this farmyard. Head on down to check out the animal yard, and then we'll finish things up back down here, having a look at this part of town and this area before we get a little bit of an overview of the rest of the map. Go over for a little bit of a flyover at the end so you can just see things as a general overview. So as I said earlier on, one of the features around this area is the use of irrigation ditches and irrigation ponds. And you can see on the right there, big irrigation pond set up there with the valves which you can open and close to allow the water to run through these canals, these drainage ditches, and head into the fields. Obviously only decorative, it's not a feature that can be used in farm sim like I said earlier, but nice to have these included and form part of the map. Just gives it a little bit of character and tells a little bit of a story. Could even be used in something in roleplay if you wanted to. Throw down some of the pivot irrigators that are available and make a bit of fun with those. We're just going to head up this way and just get a bit of an idea on these fields. And not too bad a size fields, to be honest. They're not small, they're not big. Really a good size for a nice manageable farm. But certainly the main feature of this part of the map is these drainage ditches, which are around a number of these fields. So we're probably entering the main part of town. This will be the main town area up in the top left hand corner of the map, where we saw all the production points and a few of the different sell points up in here. We'll just go for a little bit of a drive around. You can see the diner there, the grocery store. Then on that side we've got a sell point in over there. There's big silos. And like I said, there's a lot of vehicle traffic around here and pedestrian traffic, which really gives it a very, very lived-in character, lived-in aesthetic. Feels like there's a lot going on. Oil factory on that side, we've got the sawmill, carpentry just there. Up here on our left is the animal dealer, so if you want to buy some cattle or sheep, that's where you would come to get those. Then as we just carry on down through here and head over towards the cooperative, which was up in the top centre of the map, now you can just see a few more of those production points. Certainly very heavy on the production points up in this area, but gives me a similar vibe, similar feel to how Southern Cross Station was set up in the town, with everything sort of in one spot. The main difference with this map to Southern Cross is it does have a couple of different areas where those are spread out a little bit more, so you might find you spend a bit more time traversing the map and trying to find where the best sell point is or where the best options are to sell your product. So looking back there across the fields, you see a few of them do have the power lines running through them, which is always nice, a little bit of a challenge when you're farming, but a nice thing to see there added in as well. We're just going to drive in here, have a look through one of the sell points. I think this was Australian grain, Aussie grain. You can see the dump trigger, but otherwise just a nicely decorated area. Sheds, silos, things like that. Lots of different variety of spaces. Going to go that way thinking we could get out, but we're not, so it is a drive through, drive around. scenario, in and out the same way. And directly opposite here you can see the cotton bales over there on the yard area, so that is a cotton sell point in there. You can get rid of your cotton bales, which is probably quite a common thing for this area. And then as we cross the road here, ignoring the stop sign, shooting in front of that vehicle, is a couple more sell points, and then the main cooperatives, so the different areas for buying seed, fertiliser. So we'll just go for a little bit of a drive around here. Like I said earlier, these are BC Bueller's cooperative pack, so it is a required mod for your gameplay. We've got the drive-through area here, so you can see we've got the fill trigger to come in and fill with whatever it is you want. I wonder if we can fill any into there. We can't. This is all interconnected. Got some tracks which take you through the back, or you could head back out onto the road and go into the main entrances. We'll come around this side. We've got the liquid triggers there for those, and then we'll come around the other side, back out the door, and have a look here on the left. And I think this was our seed store, if I do remember correctly, so you come in here and buy your seeds and things like that for planting. We drive through the middle. We've got the same sort of overload auger to pick up your seed. It's a very nice little area, nicely set up, and some good options for you. So we've just covered from the main farmyard here. We've driven up and past the pond, in through town, around past a lot of the production points, across here around the sell point, and then we drove through the 3 cooperative areas for purchasing your different commodities. We've just taken this dirt track here. We're heading down between these 2 fields. Then we're going to take a right and head down and take a look at this farmyard. But just as we are, and take a look at some of the different fields. So as you can see, obviously with the tree models, you wouldn't be able to square that field off, but it does give it a nice little bit of character having that. And generally the fields are nice and square, big and open, so you don't have a lot of skinny narrow little bits which would make it difficult to use courseplay or anything like that. And just while we're driving past, actually, this is the chickpea crop. We just get down here and have a look at that. So you can see those that chickpea there, those ones are ready to harvest. But it's nice. I'm actually looking forward to having the opportunity to get in and play with something a little bit different, try out a different crop. So we'll take this road down this way, and this should take us straight down into the second of the farmyards that we're going to have a look at. So just making our way here into the second farmyard, which I described as probably the arable area, and we'll just take a bit of a drive around in here and have a look. A few more sheds, obviously, another water trigger there. More of the flat bottom bins, so like I said, you'll need a couple of augers for loading into and out of those. A couple more sheds there, and they're all pretty much open. There was a door on the other side of the one shed, but lots of storage space, lots of options for where to park your equipment, get that under cover, out of the sun, out of the rain. Diesel trigger there, another lime station, and just a whole huge amount of open storage. So plenty of space to get things, and nice and accessible too. Nice wide spaces in front of them all, which is always a bonus. It's never much fun when you've got tight little yards and big equipment. So that is the second of the farmyards. Like I said, very straightforward, very simple, but very usable, very practical. So we'll carry on, head on down south towards the animal yard, just taking a little bit of a look around at things. Nice looking space, nice looking area. You see another one of those fields here with the telegraph poles going through it. And in fact, just looking there, there's probably an opportunity to merge those 2 fields if you wanted to, by those, so there's no trees along that one. So there's areas where you could merge fields, but not all subdivided by trees like this field here is. So if you're smart about which ones you buy and where you head, there is chances to make things bigger. Even there you could merge down between the end of the trees and just have a little bit that juts out and sticks in. Although there may be a fence that runs along there, I'm not sure. But that is that's the grass field we looked at a little bit earlier, which is right at the entrance here into the animal area. So let's head on down this way. I like this little entrance here because you've got 2 options. You've got the narrow little bridge, which is for your standard equipment, but a big air cart or seeder, or even some of the bigger cultivation and tillage equipment isn't going to fit over that bridge, so you will have to use the ford there over the river, which is quite a cool little feature. But we're just going to head in and around, take a look at this, another one of the herbicide stations there. This actually takes us out the back of the map. We'll just head around this way. You can see the shearing shed, typical Australian and New Zealand style shearing shed. Very small sheep pasture just there on the right, so don't think you're going to be running thousands and thousands of head of sheep. We'll just make our way back around here. We're going to run out of space. We are. Bit of a dead end, but we'll just jump out very quickly. Take a look over here. Another few more sheds, a few more open storage areas, another diesel trigger. So good space again for storage. And then this is our cattle pasture just in here. So you can see we've got our trigger for the cattle, our water, food, and I think that would be a slurry or milk, in fact. So you can get that out of there. Pretty compact, pretty tight and confined area here for the animals, but it'll work. It'll do what you want it to do, and obviously the fields are all pretty big, open and flat, so if you wanted to put down your own pastures or your own favourite animal pen, you could do that. So from here, we'll head on over to the other town and go and take a look at that area. So we're right down here at the bottom of the map, heading into the second of the town areas, and we're just going to take a very quick little look around this. Got a few more sell points in there, the transport depot. Over the other side and just in behind here is the main shop. I'm going to take a look at that in just a second. But otherwise, you've just got a few more sell points. One in here on the left. Head on up here to the Elders. Elders is a very recognisable brand in Australia. They used to be in New Zealand, but not so much anymore. Debris crusher at the end, so if you're wanting to have field rocks turned on, I'm not sure why you would, but if you do and want to make some lime, you can come down there and get those crushed. Cell trigger there for Elders. Just go around the back of there and head on back this way. Another big grain complex there for selling your cereal crops and things like that. And then, like I said, we're just going to take a look at the main shop just up this way. As you know, if you've noticed, the traffic around is just, I think the traffic's fantastic. I think Hocks has done a great job in that, making it very, very immersive having it there. It's good speed, it's good distribution, I like it. But in here, you'll probably be quite familiar. This looks a lot like the shop that was on West Australia. And we've got our trigger over here, along with a whole lot more collectibles floating around for your equipment. And we'll just jump in here, buy ourselves or lease ourselves a 7R. And there you go, your equipment spawns here in the yard. Quite a big amount of space, and it's facing away from here, which is good. As you can see the edge of the trigger there. So lots of space around, so when you get some of your bigger equipment, mother bin, big combines, long headers, things like that, looks like there should be a good amount of space to get those to spawn and not have too much difficulty getting them in and out of the area. So as we drive out of here, this is probably a good indicator of the storage ponds. So we've got the left hand side of this road is the irrigated land, for want of a better description, and then the right hand side, as we've just driven back down, is the non-irrigated areas, so none of the drainage ditches or anything like that. Fuel station with the BP in there. And then one other sell point in there with the very traditional, typical Australian open heaps for your grains and crops and things like that. Very, very much like Western Australia, and a lot of different areas in Australia which use that sort of storage system. So this main road here would take us back up into town. You can see the silos just over there in the distance, but we're just going to pop a left in here. This takes us back into the bottom of the main farmyard, or the starter farmyard where we started out. So just looking around at the fields either side, again, more and more of those drainage ditches, so really less scope with these all around to expand fields if that's what you wanted to do. More confined by the ditches, and you just have to make do with that. Possibly some options on the other side, but like I said, I think the fields are a good size, so very manageable, but very good for giving you lots of different options and still being able to get some big equipment out as well as some of the small stuff. So one of my favourite ways to finish off a map tour is just to jump up in the air and have a little bit of an overlook, see where we went, and just give you a bit of a grounding on that. So we've just gone over the starter farm. We headed up this track just here and drove into the town up here in the top left corner, which contains a number of different production points and sell points amongst other things. We then headed along the top of the map, went past the big grain silos there, past the limed fields, and headed down towards these sell points, past the cotton bales there you can see down there in the right hand side, and across to the cooperative where we've got the seed, fertilizer and liquid herbicide and liquid fertilizer buy points. After leaving there, we actually drove along this dirt road here, headed across the top edge of the map, and then turned down and headed into the second of the arable farms. And this farm had a couple of silos and a number of different storage areas, a number of open sheds, lots of space to keep your equipment. As you can see there, lots of space to get access in and around with some of the larger equipment you might want to use on a map like this. We took a look at this field in particular, one that was potentially one you could merge and make into a larger field. And there's options again. You could extend the fields here in front of us up the top end and make it into one big field as well. So you're not confined. There's not really trees that do block the whole way along the boundary between fields in every instance. We looked at the animal farm, which contains the sheep and the cattle pastures, as well as some sheds and some good storage space there. A nice little vibe to that farm. I did quite like the look of that. Headed out the back here and down to the very bottom of the map. We then took a look here at the other of the town areas, which has a number of different sell points, as well as the main shop area, which you can see down there with the John Deere tractor parked out in front of it. The typical Elders, very Australian brand that you might used to find in New Zealand as well, but not quite so much. Now, we didn't look too much down here at the bottom left hand corner of the map, but we've got a number of fields and you can just see those drainage ditches going all over the place. Another big storage pond, and we've just gone across the BP fuel station and looking there again at those grain sell points and those outdoor grain stacks with the unload conveyors. So a good look at the map. We drove along here along the main road and then turned up here along this dirt track and headed into the bottom of the starter farm. So we did manage to cover pretty much the whole map in a very short amount of time. So I'm looking forward to it. I must say I've got a great feel for this map. There's a few little things that I'm not quite sure about. The drainage ditches feel just a little bit bare. I'm not sure whether that's might be what they're like, but I just feel like they could use a little bit more refinement. But other than that, I think the map's looking fantastic. I love the trees. I think they do give it a very, very Australian vibe. And the fields are all a good size, a good variety of sizes, and a good variety of shapes. They're not all plain and square, but they're also not narrow and tight. They do have some character to them, which I think is important in a farm and in a field. We don't just get square fields everywhere, so it's nice to see that as well. Like I said at the start, this is going to be PC only, so again, if you've stuck with me console players, I'm sorry to say that there's no plans for it to make it onto PlayStation or Xbox at this stage, but you never know. There may be a change in heart, or someone might approach Hocks and ask if they're allowed to do it. So if you're interested in spending some time, maybe hit him up. He could be keen to share that with you and give you the chance to do that. So keep an eye on Hocks' socials, Facebook, for a release to the map. I'm sure I will share it as well through our Facebook page and Discord server, and probably put a link up on our community page as well when it is released. It is going through final testing with his Patreons and through his beta testing, so hopefully we're not too far away from seeing it released. So special thanks to Hocks again for allowing me an early access look here and allowing me to share this with you. I'm looking forward to finding a way to integrate this into the channel and doing a series on this. So keep an eye out for that coming in the not too distant future. So as always, I hope you've enjoyed that map tour. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.